Hey guys, it's time to Nefis and chill, and a lot of people have been asking me for my opinion in regards to what many are calling a controversy that happened in the ESO sphere of Twitter. Personally, I don't think you should care about my opinion, but I'll still give it anyway, as I've taken the time to observe these series of reactions and took the time to gather my rather turbulent thoughts on the topic because I'm placed in a rather unique position of kind of understanding all sides to this. So, the official ESO Twitter account put out this tweet where, not for the first time by the way, advertised specification scrolls for your attributes and skill points that went on sale in the microtransaction crown store. Understandably, quite a lot of players, especially players who have played this game, were upset by this because many viewed this not only as an advertisement of these respec scrolls you spend real money for as something predatory on new players who may not know, and indeed, there have been new players that did not know and did spend money on these things, along with some other stuff I can mention like vampire werewolf bites, but also as something that just shouldn't be on the crown store anymore, as it could be misleading, intentionally or intentionally. So let's read some of these reactions on Twitter. Preying on the new players again, I see. Whoever wrote this, what the fuck? You can do it with in-game gold or the armory. Or, wait for them to do a big update and add new content, and they automatically reset everything on your character anyhow, so you don't have to waste real or fake money. Stuff like this and loot boxes are one of the few things I hate about this game. You must make plenty of money off the cosmetics as is. It just feels gross preying on people's impatience, addiction, or simple ignorance. Be better. Of course, you got more reactions to this. If you could just go to a respec shrine, one place for example, Blackwood within Leyawan, has both Shrine of Akatosh and Standar, requiring in-game good to use. Or gold to use, excuse me. Charging people for in-game options is unethical. Really starting to go up Bethesda, to be honest. Please, players, newbies, or full of crowns, just don't. There are other ways for basically free. Get your cash Zos, but at least tell the newbies that this epic bundle costs less than 10k gold at any capital and is unlimited. Hi, if you're at low level and can't afford the respec game, hit me up in my DMs. I play on you, and I'll gladly give you the gold to respec. New players, you can do this at the shrine for little gold and cure yourself if you are a werewolf or vampire. No need to spend real money. Or you can use the armor instead. Equip an empty slot and you're good to go. And we have Arcania here. Let me repeat our folks. It's super cheap to respec your skills and attributes in the game using gold. Even on a discount, the crown price for these are too much. There will always be people willing to spare you the gold even if you don't have it at the ready as a new player. What the fuck, Zos? This is literally a maximum of 20,000 gold in total to do in-game. Scamming new players who don't know better. If anyone considers buying this on PCU, hit me up. I'll gladly give you the gold required and show you where to do this. As a new player, I saw this post and I thought, wow, they sell respec? That's how I have to do it? And I was very disappointed. Then I see the comments and learn it's very easy to do in-game. At least your player base cares enough about new players to make sure they know this. What a shit post this tweet is. Jesus Christ. But yeah, you guys get the idea at this point. I think we can all agree that there are certain things not just Zos, but game companies in general do to incentivize, attract, or softly pressure players into specific kinds of behavior, whether it's with loot crates in other games or the crown crates in the ESO or what have you. I think cash shops in general, especially those focusing heavily on cosmetics, are fine to a certain extent, but when it comes to certain utilities that you can actually use, like Halo's Battle Pass, XP boost, or the respec scrolls in ESO, it can definitely be off-putting, especially when there are, either better alternatives available in in-game currency, or there's a sense of knowing it was intentionally created in such a fashion that makes it either hard to avoid or easy to fall into. For the purpose of the first part of this video, I just want to narrow down on the existence of the respec scrolls and also the tweet itself. I think in general the Crown Store needs some updates because I find some things on the Crown Store a bit outdated. A lot of these bundles or even the respec stuff are from the ancient days when there wasn't, to be frank, anything of worth on the Crown Store. There were no crown crates, no more than 5 mounts. It was a very lame cash shop in comparison back in the day to the behemoth it is now. The tweet itself was definitely not only a marketing error, but also very, very poor timing on the part of whoever made the tweet. One thing I want to point out here is that the former social media manager for ZOS, Sarah Hecker, had left her position for a social media manager position with Respawn Entertainment of Apex Legends back in August. Since then, I haven't really heard any official news about a new social media manager or something public like the forum manager, Kevin. God bless his soul. So this person in charge of the Twitter account may just be a fill-in who simply doesn't have the sense of what the community is like or how they would respond. Secondly, the marketing error. I think if they had advertised a crown sale in general for other things, including respec scrolls, it could have maybe gone over a little bit more well, but I'm sure some of the backlash would have still occurred in some form or another over the respec scrolls being included. Next, I want to talk about maybe why this tweet right now, out of all the time it could have taken place, has struck a chord with so many people across the diverse spectrum of the ESO, because I think every video posted about this so far as content creators go, like Fragment Saw, Sawman UK, Zerodead go, have been from PvPers, which I don't think people should dismiss as, oh, it's just PvPers complaining about the game again because PvP performance is dog shit. But if you observe more carefully, you see the same reactions from PvEers, endgame PvEers, endgame PvPers, casual players, questers, and role players who put a lot of work on their original characters and a lot of other different sub-communities within ESO. There's this sense of fatigue, not at all unlike the combat balance fatigue that's come with the volatile patches for the past however many years, but there's a sense of fatigue in a sizable portion of the player base with the Crown Store, or how certain things are monetized in ESO, and I say sizable because Twitter, Reddit, Discord, forums, Facebook groups are still a fraction, albeit a significant fraction, of the ESO player base that do voice complaints often or other forms of feedback. So, while I understand the innate desire right now to think that the voices talking about this and, voices, the opinions you agree with would be something commonplace across the board, I'd be hesitant in assuming so, because from what I can assume, so far, the numbers for the business end for ZOS are probably more than fine. Doesn't matter if the same people threaten to boycott crown crates or ESO or what have you, but I will say that this sense of crown store fatigue, as I've been observing recently, will keep increasing in intensity and volume and probably reach a peak point probably within the next 2 years at the rate it's going, unless changes are made to not just the crown store itself, but probably to the game itself. Additionally, I think a lot of this recent backlash and the fatigue I just mentioned is intrinsically tied in with not just respec scrolls themselves or the concern for new players. I believe that there are actually deeper layers of concern beyond the usual, for the new players, for the community reasons people give when they're outraged or mad about things. But it's intrinsically tied in, I think, with the health of the game, the quality of the content, and the direction of the game. I think there's valid concerns with not just the game's performance issues, including bugs, but the reward system of the game, which would involve perennial rewards, player tasks, difficulty levels, in-game economy, player interactions, type of content, and a whole lot more of things that deserves its own video. But if I just sum this part up well, we can look at previous and current monetization efforts from ZOS on mounts or cosmetics or whatever, which leads to an absence of those same things in the game, which feeds into this fatigue of, I want cool stuff, but I have to spend real money for it, and this has just been growing more and more. The quality of content in ESO isn't just also based on what the content gives you anymore, like the story or repeatability, perhaps, but what comes with that content. And for ESO players, it's item sets, mythics, or whatever. And perhaps the quality of the content itself, like the lore, has taken a hit as a result of delivering side things, or perhaps even the direction of the game itself is severely affected by delivering those things, like the dozens of item sets that have produced this never-ending hole that both players and developers are digging themselves into. Like a good example of this last one would be, instead of item sets, what rewards would replace item sets? And these are very difficult questions and very difficult problems. So all the things I mentioned deserve its own video and can be hours and hours of critical discussion. But I hope you understand that, in my opinion, the entirety of all this is connected to one another, and has resulted in a lot of backlash, as mentioned above, and is vastly difficult to solve. Lastly, I want to go back to the whole thing about respec scrolls. This idea of corporate greed, and of course the clips circulating of Rich Lambert, the creative director of ESO, answering questions on his Twitch stream, about the respect scrolls and stuff like that, including something that resulted in the ban of the person asking questions. I think there's definitely a huge disconnect between the players and ZOS itself in regards to how much ZOS depends on the Crown Store. There will undoubtedly be people who defend the practice of microtransactions as a way to feed the developers and their families, and I agree. Everyone's got to eat. I don't think anyone logical or not blurred by emotion will disagree with this. But at the same time, I think the disconnect here is that we players simply just don't know how much they're making, or if they need to make a certain amount to support the game or whatever. But I do think players tend to severely underestimate the money companies like ZOS needs to make, not just to pay the employees their wages, benefits, and what have you, but for other things as far as the top guys or shareholders are concerned. Obviously, we'll never get these numbers, but I'd be super interested in looking at some of these numbers, like how many people or what kind of players buy these respec scrolls. But at the same time, I don't think this should be a zero-sum game where a company has to sell absolutely everything or try to monetize absolutely everything, including, in my opinion, necessary game features such as gear set swapping, or where you don't put disclaimers of some sort with certain things like respec scrolls to inform the consumer. Because I think informing the consumer in cases like this goes a long way, not just in terms of what they're buying, but you're securing their future loyalty as a buyer as well, because I guarantee you that the people who were new players and had bought stuff from the Crown Store thinking it was the only way they could cure vampirism or reset their skills do exist, and don't like the Crown Store, don't want to support the company, and I met some of these people. Lastly, I want to talk about Rich's response to the questions on the stream. All I can say really is about all this that I think there was definitely miscommunication, or at the very least misinterpretation on one part, with some knee-jerk reactions, and also mishandling in some part of some of the communication from both the person asking the question and Rich himself. I understand where both were actually coming from by intention, but instead of focusing on that set of interactions, I think the focus should be more so on the game itself and how the game can better serve players, because that will ultimately help the company as well. But yeah, that's pretty much my opinion. Thanks for Neffers and Chilling. Let me know what your thoughts are about this down in the comments below. Stay safe, have fun, and see you guys next time.